What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. We are almost at the end of the week. People keep bringing this Diddy thing up to me, and like, here's the thing. I've said it before. I don't really follow the Diddy thing. I'll catch little things in my feeds, but the thing is, the stuff that's coming out about Diddy. Only the people who weren't paying attention all these years are like absolutely shocked about it. Nothing that is coming out about Diddy is shocking, right? If you hail from the 90s, you understand that nothing that is coming out about Diddy is shocking, right? It's only shocking to these people who want to be an authority of old news as a new thought. You know, when I look at the Diddy situation, I look at Diddy being very similar to Jeffrey Epstein, where, Jeffrey Epstein was fine. And I'm not saying that for me personally, but he was okay as long as he was playing ball with all the people that were organized around him, right? Jeffrey Epstein started messing up. And there are clips, they're probably going to scrape them from the internet, but there's an interview where Bill Gates is being asked about Jeffrey Epstein, and he said that Jeffrey Epstein tried to bribe him, right? Because again, they are throwing these, they're supposed to be the socialists, right? They're supposed to throw these parties, have cameras all over the place so that they can get dirt on high power influencers and politicians, right? That's their job. They're ops, right? And that's where people keep saying, did he work for the FBI, or alleging that he worked for the FBI, is because Jeffrey Epstein was also tied to governments, right? So he was a part of this system of setting people up, getting dirt on people vicariously through these little wild parties that people think are exclusive and private, when really there's cameras all over the place filming them doing all kinds of things like cheating on their wives and even engaging in pedo work, violating children, right? So there's these people get collateral on people, and they use this collateral to bribe them, right? Because all of these demonic people don't want to really see shame in what they do. They don't want the public to have an opinion about the shameful, demonic things that they engage in. And that's just to say that when you start bribing very powerful people, especially coordinated powerful people, they can coordinate to take you down. And I think that's exactly what is happening with Diddy. I do believe that Cassie, she's been in on this for a while, right? They probably just drafted her. We're going to start it off with a lawsuit that you're absolutely going to win, right? Because, now they're short squeezing him with all these proceedings and lawsuits so that basically they end up bankrupting a guy. That's usually how these coordinations work. If they want to take somebody powerful like Diddy out, they start short squeezing him, having him to settle a whole bunch of lawsuits and this and that. But when you listen to a lot of stuff that aside from anything dealing with minor children, the other stuff is like, why do we even care about the fact that Diddy has freak offs? I don't even care if the man is gay and that he had relations with other men, because that's your private disgusting stuff. Like, I don't agree with those practices, but at the same time, hey, everybody has their thing or whatever. I'm not in a position to judge him about something like that. But so that stuff is just like, I don't really understand it. It's like he can stand on it, own it. Yeah, I did that, whatever. All these grown men, now if it's a bigger conversation that's coming up that Diddy was responsible for emasculating black men in order for them to be able to gain fame and get some recognition in the industry. Now that is a whole other conversation that needs to be had, right? Because there seems to be a trend of, if you are somebody from the hood and you trying to come up, that these people will see how bad you want it by violating you, right? And some people, they will rationalize, okay, well, I'm just going to do this for a moment, but they don't realize the continuous violation that needs to happen once you sell your soul, right? When you sell your soul, that means that your soul belongs not to you, but at the will of whoever is funding you. Right? That's why Sexy Red and your Glorrillas, right? They propping these girls up because they personify this culture for Black women and young Black women that they want to see, right? Because they're always doing little colorful things to demean us. So they'll pull some people from the poverty line every time to represent Black people, so that people like Candace Owens can have a sound clip and a bite about how ratchet Black people are universally. So that's just to say that, a lot of the white stigmas and stereotypes that are formulated, absolutely comes from, tokenized people like that who care more about the coin than how they're projecting Black people. And speaking of this, I was listening to this guy, and he was ranting about white people, not taking accountability for why basically racism is continuously perpetuated in America. And his delivery was poor. And this is why I cannot buy any arguments that anybody lighter than me is smarter than me. Because, again, it's all about articulation, right? I don't care if you sat at Harvard 12 years of your life. A lot of times, if you cannot independently think and connect dots, you are not smarter than me, because that is what I do. But anyways, let's go with this guy.
That white folks support anti-Blackness, racism, and white supremacist culture in so many goddamn fucking ways. Why is it that we support it through our silence, our defensiveness, our denial, that code of silence? Let's not talk about it. Let's ignore it. All that fucking gymnastics, that defense.
Talk about the gymnastics. And some of these people talk about, I'm a child of God, right? But then they will literally allow other peoples to infiltrate their mind with the fact that Black people universally are ignorant. We have zero grace, right? We can't function in society. We don't have any type of motivation. This is what some of these people would convince. They're convinced of this, and they say, I'm a child of God. It's like, well, you're an ignorant child of God. You need some help.
Offensiveness, the fucking anger, the passive aggressiveness, the stereotyping, the overt, covert racist, all the shit that we do, the gaslighting, all that fucking shit that we do.
Now, let me stop, because this guy is doing nothing but just running off at his mouth cussing instead of just intelligently saying what he wants to say. But I think, and there is some truth in his ignorant delivery, though. And that's, I think what it is liberals are conscious. There are many liberals who are conscious of racism because many of them perpetuate it. They fund it. They organize it, right? There are a lot of people who have the badge of liberal who are perpetrators of racism in very colorful ways because they're riddled on supremacy, right? Especially, not to be generalized of all Jewish people, but there are Talmudic Jews, right, who are riddled with the worst type of supremacies. And this is like, since Babylon, some of those people have had this supremacy, right? So, even these people, they will fund, these ideas that, whites are disenfranchising Blacks. And the reason why they can do things like that and Blacks are inferior to white, the reason why they can do that is because many of them disassociate themselves with being actual white people. So it creates a real conundrum for a lot of people sometimes. And it was actually was like that for me, like in 2020 when I was on the LinkedIn platform. They still restricted me. They still got me restricted, and I'm like, screw them at this point. I've learned to pivot doing business without LinkedIn. But I do remember I would get into these social conversations about Black America with non-Black men, right? And they'd just be so committed to the Black plight being X, Y, and Z way, discrediting any other experiences from Black people that would be contrary to that. And they would always say white guys, and I'm like, you are self-hating, like, because I'm clearly looking at a white guy here, and it's like, I'm not white, I'm Jewish, and we're different than white people, and it's just like, many of you are Europeans, okay? Many North American Jews, they are European descent. You even ask them, and they'll be like, I'm German, I'm this, I'm that. I mean, hell, my neighbor was like, his dad is German, his mom was an actual authentic Jew because she was actually Middle Eastern. She was like Turkish and something else. I'm like, yeah, that, your mom was a real Jewish person because she's actually Middle Eastern, right? But some of these people, they disassociate themselves so that they can be this sort of virtue signaler of these conversations, right? So I don't know. This guy could be just gaslighting, virtue signaling about white people, but he does make some pretty valid points because again, the Democrats, they are very committed to Black disenfranchisement. And so they leverage a lot of these stereotypical ideas and division points for political gains, whereas the conservatives, they want to be oblivious, right? Because a lot of them want to believe that they're so godly people that, they don't care about anybody's race. I don't see color. It's like bullshit. When you're making decisions or whatever, and it's down to you picking a financial advisor, you're gonna pick a white one versus a black one every single time because of the perception of the intelligence. Because a lot of them have been conditioned to believe that all black people lack intelligence. And my black ass is always here to remind them that's not true. That is not true. Anyways, you guys, you have a wonderful day. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. And I will catch you. I'm trying to see if there's any other things that were valid to me. Obviously, you got the conflict in the Middle East going on, this ongoing thing, right? They're proposing a two-state solution at the UN right now. Palestine wants a two-state solution. And here's where that becomes problematic. Israel's not going to go for a two-state solution in Palestine, only because they understand that when you have these two states in a relatively close region, right? One empowered by Western powers and alliances, and the other one powered by Eastern power and alliances, it does create a more of a threat for Israel, right? Because obviously, if you have Arab nations that ever want to move on Israel for whatever reason, right? Having Palestine be a second state, it's like literally having Ukraine in the backyard, Ukraine as a NATO nation in the backyard of Russia. It creates volatility. It becomes a huge national security threat for those nations. So I do kind of understand why Israel do not want a two-state solution. But at the same time, I think that they need to be realistic about, their policy, in resolving this conflict, right? Because this has been over 75 years. This is not just start October 7th, right? Like, and there's many arguments about why October 7th happened, right? A lot of people were like, this is a terrorist attack on Israel. A lot of people believe that this is a response to ongoing terrorism and disenfranchisement, and these people are uprising against the government of Israel, who is pretty much controlling how they can live and function. So it's an interesting argument. I think that if this argument could be resolved if people were to take the Bible literally. But because people are using this existence of the state of Israel as something biblical, it's going to be hard to find resolution to this conflict because people are not following the Bible on this. People haven't followed the Bible on this. People have not understood the Bible on this. And I think that they're looking at the existence of Israel as something biblical. And really, it's just the mockery of the scriptures that we knew was going to come back up again. That's why we knew that Jerusalem, which was destroyed by the Romans, right? But it shows back up in Bible prophecy because we knew that once again Israel would be raised up by the nations again. And this time it was raised up by proxy of the United States. That's why they represent the second beast. And so if you are a patriot to either one of these nations, I mean, hey, I pray for you. And to understand that, you know, you are a patriot to something that's ultimately going to be destroyed, because all of these nations on the earth they're marked for destruction. Every single nation. When people say, God bless America, I'm usually like, which God? Because it's not the God of Abraham. It's not the God of Abraham. More so like Satan. But anyways, y'all have a good day, and don't even get offended about that, because we know that this nation is ran by Satan. This is Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. God is not blessing this nation. You can say it all you want to. You're asking for Satan's blessings, because he's not blessing America. There's no protection of America from the God of Abraham. There is not even protection from Israel from the God of Abraham. They're like, look at the Iron Dome. I mean, people could say this is an act of God. Like, no, it's actually the hands of man and their technology trying to play God. But we'll leave it at there. Have a good day. Bye.